Hi everyone. For this video, I wanted to spend some time talking in detail about the NEC and kind of navigating it just to help any confusion that there might be. So if you remember in the last video, I mentioned that there are 9 chapters of the NEC. This isn't to be confused with the fact that the textbook for this course, I believe, gosh, I think it has 14 chapters, so a few more chapters. So just if you ever get confused about that, the way this course and the materials are, it's based on the textbook. And that's just because a couple chapters in the textbook relate to one chapter of the NEC. So the textbook is a little bit more detailed, just because it explains some of these articles in more detail. So again, we're just to clarify, we're only talking about the National Electric Code and the chapters of that. So there are 9 chapters, which means there are 9 chapters that go over specific areas. So essentially the chapters kind of serve as the category. So they're categorizing different elements of the National Electric Code. So chapter 1 just kind of outlines general information. So again, that's a chapter that gives you definitions of various terms and kind of outlines what the NEC is. Chapter 2 talks about wiring and protection. Chapter 3, wiring methods and materials. Chapter 4, equipment for general use. So with this, those first 4 chapters, those are just relating to like general rules of the NEC. When we get into chapter 5, 6, and 7, these are a little bit unique because they talk about special areas. So chapter 5 talks about special occupancies, chapter 6, special equipment, and chapter 7, special conditions. So these are like specific areas, so things that are very specific, like it might talk about X-ray equipment in particular, because that has special and unique circumstances that have to be considered. So these 3 chapters are a little bit more detailed. And then chapter 8 talks about communication systems. So that's things like TV and equipment for TVs or cable systems, any type of communication system or device. And then chapter 9 is all about tables. So that might give like physical properties, conductive properties, and various different tables for wiring. So it might give like the ampacities, and it gives a lot of information, and there's a lot of different tables if you look in chapter 9. So that's the basic overview of the chapters. Now, in each chapter, there are articles. So I think in total there are around 125 articles. Of course, that might increase or decrease over time if we add more. But an article essentially serves as like a specific subject. So a specific subject under that chapter. So for example, you could have a specific article, or there is a specific article for services. So that is going to fall under chapter 2, where it talks about wiring and protection. And you can see that right here. Article 230, that's the name, talks about services. Now, in the National Electric Code, there's also parts. So it'll utilize a part when there is an article that is very big and covers a lot of information. So, for example, right now I'm in Article 240, and you can tell that by it says it up top here, and it also says it right here. So Article 240, and then this dot here specifies a section. So they might break an article up into different sections. So you would read this as Article 240, Section 21. But there are also parts. So like you can see here that like it says Part 3 right here. So again, they just do this to kind of break down the article into more sections, just to kind of like subjects within that article. Now, you also might see, so you can see here that like this is Article 240, Section 30 in Part 3. So it can be a little bit confusing to read, but just note that. And you also might see like a subscript A at the end of an article or part one, because you can see that this is for example, part 3 of Article 240, Section 30, and then this alone is subscript A of that 1 and 2. So it's like an outline. It kind of serves as an outline where you have it broken down and broken down and broken down once more. So it can be a little bit confusing, but it's just a way to kind of simplify it. So for here, part 3 in Article 240 relates to enclosures. Specifically, Section 30 talks about it in a general terms, and specifically, Part A talks about protection from physical damage, and there are 2 important kind of notes under that. So it really breaks it down and breaks it down and breaks it down. So it can be confusing, but the biggest thing is being able to understand that there's a number and then a dot and another number, and that's just the article and then the section. So definitely it's important to kind of read that and know what it's saying. And with that, that was all I just wanted to talk about for this video. Just again, just wanted to summarize kind of how the National Electric Code is broken down.